Okay, Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, so today continuing with our Surah Al-Mulk, inshallah, and today we will be looking at ayah number 5. So you'll have noticed that yesterday we tried a slightly different approach. So when I am reciting, instead of the group of sisters reciting after me, there is only one sister reciting after me. But I would still like everybody at home, please still use that opportunity. That is your chance to practice and try having a go yourself, try to implement and recite it the best way that you can, inshallah. So this is still a very much an active class where I still want you, whether I can hear you or not, please do recite at home as well. Let's bring up our ayah. Okay, so let me bring up the second part as well. Alhamdulillah. So I'm going to get today, inshallah, please, Sister Radhiya, if you could recite the isti'adha after me, please. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
Okay, so remember with the dhal, I want a lighter touch, Sister Radhiya. When you say dhu, remember very tight, very light touch. At the moment, you're pressing a little bit firmly on the teeth. So I should hear the dhu, dhu. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
Also, Sister Radhiya, you know when you say the ta, at the moment, the sound is going through your nose. So I'm hearing like a ta, right? So what we do is try to focus on letting the sound come through your mouth. Okay, so try to push the sound out through your mouth. Ash-shaytan.
الشيطان.
It starts off okay, and then later on it gets, so the way that you start to say ta, ta, not ta, ta, ash-shaytan.
الشيطان.
It's still there a little bit, inshallah. This is something that we'll have to practice, inshallah. Okay, if Sister Saira, if you could say the basmala after me, please. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
Okay, so for you, the letter Ra, we need all the letter Ra's here to be heavier. So when you say the Ra in Bismillahir Rahman, this one, and also when you say Ar-Rahim, for this you have to make sure that when you say the Ra, the back of the tongue pushes it moves a little bit up, and it also moves a little bit back. So you feel something at the very top of your throat, a slight push back of the back of the tongue. And try to direct the sound of the voice a little, and inshallah that should work. Actually, the sound of the voice, you shouldn't have to worry about too much. Let's try that. Let's try the Ra on its own first. Ra.
Ra.
That's better. Now say Ar-Ra.
Ar-Ra.
That's much better. The second Ra is better than the first. Your joining one is a little bit weak. So as soon as you join, you say Ar, straight away you should be heavy. Ar, you're getting ready for a heavy Ra. Ar-Ra.
Ar-Ra.
Let's try and put it into the basmala. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
Just practice. When you're saying it in isolation, it's better. When you're putting it in, because you're saying other letters and then you're moving on to the Ra, it's just you've got to it's a little bit weaker. So what I suggest you do is before tomorrow, inshallah, for the rest of the day, whenever you get a chance, even as you're moving around the house or you're doing something, keep saying the basmala to yourself, but say it slowly. Okay, say it slowly so that you give yourself that time to think about the ra when it's coming. And inshallah, you'll get there. You're almost there anyway, inshallah, okay? Okay, so we're going to start with the ayah now. We're going to recite up until bima sabih first. Sister Humaira, if you could recite after me, please. I'm going to read it first, and then inshallah we'll have a look at some of the things that we need to pay attention to, inshallah. وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَصَابِيحَ
وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَصَابِيحَ.
Okay, just for you, next time we recite this, inshallah, just pay attention to the hamza. I want it to be lighter. Okay, so I don't want ah, I want like a sound, and also the meme. Also keeping the meme light because of the heavy letter sad which is coming next. I think you're getting ready for it a little bit early, and you're applying a little bit of the heaviness is coming into the meme. So keep the meme separate, keep it light. I know you can recite this because I've heard this from you before anyway, alhamdulillah. So what do we need to pay attention to in this ayah? We have a couple of things. We have, first of all, the qaf. We've already learnt about the letter qaf. We know the makhraj. We know it's a heavy letter. It's part of hussa, dagd, inqidh. So we're going to pronounce this by directing the sound towards the roof of the mouth. Remember, this is not an extra heavy letter. It is not a letter that also has itbaq. It is not sad, dad, ta, or dha. So we're not directing the sound straight up. It's going diagonally up. Okay. We've got a dal, and I've mentioned the dal that it is a qalqala letter, so it's a bouncy letter. It's one of those letters that you don't just stop and say wala qad, because if I just say wala qad, it's actually quite hard to hear what letter have I said at the end. I know this is the beauty of the tajweed, because a lot of the rules are there to make it clearer what is being said. So there's no room for any kind of misinterpretation or mishearing where people haven't understood, they haven't quite heard the letter that you said, so they've understood it differently. So this is quite, this is subhanallah, from the hikmah of Allah, that the way that the Quran was revealed in such a way to give clarity. Okay, so it's very clear. So because the dal is such a letter where if you stopped on it without the bounce, you'd struggle to kind of hear clearly what letter it is. That's why the qalqala is there. The qalqala is there to compensate for that and to make sure that the listener knows very clearly that it is a letter dal. Okay, so we say wala qad. Remember, we said the bounce is very gentle. What we have to make sure, though, is we don't do an abrupt ending. So we don't say wala qad, that sharp sort of cut off of the sound. We don't want that. It's got to be a very natural wala qad, not qad. You see? Sister Mary, if you can say after me, wala qad.
وَلَقَدْ.
Okay. Also, when we say the qalqala, we don't, when we say the bouncy part, that also has to sort of be in line with the nature of the letter dal. So we know that the dal is a light letter, but we want to keep in line with that and say wala qad. We don't want to say wala qad. See, now the dals become heavy. Or we don't want to say wala qad. Now the bounce part has become, we're doing like an imala to it. It's very tilted. So we have to keep it just keep your, the way that we say that your lips are rested, you keep it that way. وَلَقَدْ.
وَلَقَدْ.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Good, alhamdulillah. Then we have the word زَيَّنَّا. Now this word, now you'll notice that there's quite a bit of joining here. So we have to make sure we keep on joining each letter. We've got the ya being joined to the za. We got the noon being joined to the ya. And then we also have the seen being joined to the noon. Okay, now in continuation, this last alif that we see is not read. So this is the other thing which is important, because sometimes what we do is we see this alif and we say, oh, this alif means that we have to extend. And what we end up doing is we end up saying Zayyanna sama, but of course we don't do that here. This alif is therefore, if we stop on this word, then we'll read it. We'll say Zayyanna, then we'll read it. But if we are carrying on reading, then the alif is not read. That mud alif at the end is not read. We go straight from the na to the sin. The ya here and the sin, these are both known as rakhawa letters. So you know in the past where I've said that when you join, you hold on. These letters are the kind of letters, they are rakhawa letters, which means that when we join them, the initial joining, we hold it. And we hold it longer than we do the lam, because remember we said that the lam is in between, it's not too short and not too long. But the ya and the sin here are long. So we do hold them for a longer period of time before moving on. Whilst we hold them, at the end of it, we be careful not to cut off the sound. Our sound of our voice keeps running, okay? There is no cut off to the sound of our voice, okay? So here we will say zay, zay, zay. You can hear that I joined the za. And for those of you that do know, of course, there is a nabar here. This is a ya mushaddad. And it means that when you join the za with the ya, you join a little bit quick. But then at the end of that, the ya, you still have to apply the rakhawa and keep it running. So we say zay, zay, zay. And then you say ya. And the noon mushaddad here is also a longest gunna. It's a gunna which we have to hold again. So actually when we're joining the ya to the za, we hold the ya. When we join the noon to the ya, we hold the noon. Okay, this is the longest gunna. We've seen this before. And then the sin again, when we join the sin, we hold it again. Okay, so we're saying it like this. Zayyanna السماء. Try that, Sister Humera.
زينا السماء.
That's good. The only thing I would say is, you know, when you're joining the za with the ya, you were a little bit slow. So you said zay, zay, which means that you are keeping it running. You've got the rakhawa, you've got the running element of the ya, but the nabar's not there. You know, the emphasizing of the joining. Zay, zay. Okay, that's the nabar. We'll try this again. زينا السماء.
زينا السماء.
That's good, alhamdulillah. So you can see that the scene here was also held. So we're taking our time with this. There is no rushing. If you rush, you'll cut the sound shorter for some parts of this. So you've got to take your time, keep a steady pace, okay? The alif here, you'll notice that it has a long mud sign on top of it, okay, after the meme. This alif mud, and this, whenever you see this mud sign at the top, it means that this is a longer mud than your regular mud. It's one of the, if you have learnt the madud, it is a mud far'i. It is one which is longer than 2 counts. It's a long one. In this case, it can be 4 or 5 counts. Okay, I'm going to try and stick to the 4 counts today. Well, I try to stick to the 4 all the time, but you can make it 4 counts. You can make it 6 counts. This is known as your mad wajib muttasil. If we are, I'm not going to go into if we're stopping on this word. You can add an element of it being 6 counts, but we'll leave that for today, inshallah. Maybe we will have an opportunity to discuss that another time. So for now, because we're continuing, we're going to read it as 4 or 5 counts. And it is because the next letter is Hamza. Hamza is quite a special letter. It can change. It has quite an impact on other rules. So in this case, because the alif has the letter Hamza after it, that's what is making it longer. Okay, it is known as mad wajib muttasil. The Hamza is then added to the dal. Okay, for those of you that know, this lam is lam al-ta'rif al-shamsiyya. So therefore, we don't read this lam. The hukam here is idgham. We merge it. If you are new to this and that has just gone over your head, don't worry. Leave that out. You don't need to worry as long as you're reading it right. We're moving from the Hamza to the dal. When we are reading the word ad-dunya, now the noon followed by the ya, this is an example of what we call idhar mutlaq. It is an exception to a rule, and it's an exception to the idgham naqis, because here you, under normal circumstances, you would think that you read this as dunya, because it's anywhere else where you see a noon followed by a ya, you merge it. The word ad-dunya is one of the exceptions which means that you don't merge it. You pronounce the noon nice and clearly. Okay, there are 4 words: dunya, bunyan, sinwan, and qinwan. But inshallah, I don't want to go into too much detail because again of the time. We'll stick to what we have in front of us, which is dunya. Now, when we recite this, noon is like lam. remember we said lam when it has a sukoon, or when it has a shadda. When you join, you hold it for not too long, not too short. Noon is another one of those letters. So again, you're not going to hold it for too long, but you're going to stay in it enough to hear it well. Okay, so you can say adun, adun, and your tongue does go to the makhraj of noon. Okay, the makhraj of noon, if I very quickly show you, the makhraj of noon is the tip of the tongue, but actually, you know, if you look at, now this is your, just to give you an idea, so that's your top teeth. So, you know, you see your top two incisors, you know, this little gum part which is in between it, that's where your tip of the tongue goes for the letter noon. So it's not as back as we saw for like ta, dal, and ta. It's in front. Okay, and you use the very tip of your tongue and you press there. Okay, that's your makhraj of noon. All right, let me share my screen again. So we say ad-dunya.
Ad-dunya.
Good, alhamdulillah. And then we have to remember also with the next word is we have the letter sad, which we know is, let me go back. The sad, which is itbaq letter. It's one of the ones where your sound of your voice is going to go straight up. It's the heaviest, one of the heaviest letters that we have. Bima sa. Remember we were talking about trapping the sound in the mouth. So we do that here, and it has got an alif with it, which means that we've got to extend it for 2 counts. Okay. So inshallah, we'll move on, and I'll go on to the next part. Papa Roxana, if we can do the next part from here to here. وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينِ
وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينِ.
MashaAllah, not bad effort at all. A couple of things. So the first one is the wa, Pupuji. Just try to pay. I know you're probably thinking about, you've got the ain coming up and you want to think about making the noon, the lam, sorry, making sure you do the tawassud. Start with a clear wa. Finish the wa properly first. And also the other thing I want you to think about is you said roju. I want to hear ruju.
Okay.
Okay, the dhamma. We'll try this again. وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينِ
وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينِ.
Okay, alhamdulillah. The sheen is good. For those of you who are listening in, sheen again is joint with the lam here. And again, sheen is like seen. You know how we saw at the beginning of this ayah, we saw the seen, and I said when you join the seen, you hold it. The sheen is another letter that you hold. It's another letter of rakhawa. So here we say lish, and we hold that lish. I remember we mentioned once before that for sheen, just be mindful that your lips are not protruding out, that they are flat, because the sheen is produced from the inside, from the middle of the tongue, not using the lips. Okay, so we join, and then the only thing I want you to think about, Pupaji, is, you know, the letter ta here, it sounded a little bit like the da. So I want you to make it, and remember we said that dal, ta, and da share the same, they come from the same place. Okay, so it's very easy to make the ta sound like a da or make the ta sound like a dal. It's quite easy to do. How do we make sure that we're saying a ta? Well, the ta from these three, ta is the only one which is heavy. Dal is light, da is light. So you want to keep, so again, that thing about the back of the tongue coming up, the direction of the sound going straight up. So trying to keep it inside the mouth. لِلشَّيَاطِينِ.
لِلشَّيَاطِينِ.
That's a bit better. That's a bit better. We'll try that one more time, Pupaji. I want the, you know, when you say the li, I want the kasra. I want to hear the e sound in the kasra. لِلشَّيَاطِينِ.
لِلشَّيَاطِينِ.
I've also noticed, Pupaji, when you are reading this word, before you start, when you start, I hear you just stop on the l. So you go li, but I don't want to hear the l for too long. I just want you to go straight to the kasra, li. لِلشَّيَاطِينِ.
لِلشَّيَاطِينِ. Mustaqim.
MashaAllah, Allah barik fi. That was much better, alhamdulillah, well done. Okay, we'll go on to the next part now, inshallah. So the next part, inshallah, let's see who else we have here. Auntie Nasreen, assalamu alaikum. We'll do the next part, inshallah, the last part of the ayah with you. We have here, وَأَعْتَدْنَا لَهُمْ عَذَابَ السَّعِيرِ.
وأعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير.
Okay, so I want us to think, I'll come back to the Hamza and the Ain, we will discuss this, inshallah. I want you to look at lahum first. Whenever you have this word, hum, or even with the word kum, you have the dhamma followed by a sukoon on the meme. And both of these are light letters. Okay, meme is a light letter. It is not part of khussa daghdin qidh, so the sound should come straight out. Well, actually, in this case, it's through the nose because it is letter meme. But if it was any other light letter, it would come straight out. Let me show you how I expect your mouth to move. So your mouth should move when you are saying this word. Your mouth should move first with the circling of the lips for the ha. Okay, because the ha here has a dhamma. Whenever we have a dhamma, whenever we are trying to make a oo sound, we have to circle our lips, say who. Okay, who. Once we've done that for the meme, we can't stay like that for the meme. If we say who and then say whom, which is wrong, if we say whom, the meme starts to sound a little bit heavy. So to make the meme sound light, we come back to the slight smile position. Who, whom, lahum. Try that, Auntie Nasreen.
لهم
Again.
لهم.
Okay, the other thing I want you to do, Auntie, please, is the la at the beginning is only one count. So we don't want to say lahum, la is becoming a bit long. La, because it's lam, fatha, la, just la. Lahum.
لهم.
That's better. Jazakumullahu khairan. Let's try that again. وَأَعْتَدْنَا لَهُمْ عَذَابَ السَّعِيرِ.
وأعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير.
Just be careful of the fatha, Auntie, on the ba.
عذاب.
Try that.
Yeah. عذاب السعير.
Okay, and also the ra. Auntie, remember we keep the sound. The ra is like the letter lam. In that when we stop on it, it's not too long, not too short. Have to hear your sound of your voice still going for just a little bit, not too long. As-sa'ir.
السعير.
That's better. It's a little bit heavy. Let's see if we can make it lighter. As-sa'ir.
السعير.
The back of the tongue is going up, Auntie. So first, just try saying ri.
ri.
Right, now feel. We'll say this 3 times. Feel how your tip of the tongue is going up, and feel how the rest of the notice how the back of the tongue is rested. It's not going up. So say ri.
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 Ri again.
Ri.
Now say irri.
Irri.
Now say ir.
Ir.
That's better. Very nice, mashallah. As-sa'ir.
As-sa'ir. No. As-sa'ir.
Yeah, the ra is better. It's light. But you've lost the ain, Auntie. Don't forget the makhraj of the ain. As-sa'ir.
As-sa'ir.
The ra is much better. Auntie, but you know, sometimes when you have 2 different things to think about which are close together, when you're first trying to correct yourself, it's very easy. When you concentrate on one, you lose the other one. When you concentrate on the other one, yes. So inshallah, we just keep practicing. Inshallah, you can say the letter ain. I know you can, and the ra you've made light. I want you to practice this over the course of the day, just making sure you're saying the ain and the ra. Okay. Just for listeners, inshallah, it's quite important here at the beginning of this part that we just read, where we have the hamza and we have the letter ain. Okay, now ain we mentioned before. It is where you clear your throat. Okay, so you say where you go where you clear your throat. That's the place of letter ain. and the place of letter ha. They both come very close together, and that is called the middle of the throat, where you feel where you're clearing your throat. That's the middle of the throat, and that's the makhraj of letter ain and letter ha. Okay. Now what we're doing here is we've got to move first from the lips when we say the wa. Then we have the hamza. Now the hamza is from the bottom of the throat. And again, we've looked at this before, ah. So if hamza is from the bottom of the throat and then ain is from the middle of the throat, it means that what we're doing is we should feel ourselves moving upwards as we move from the hamza to the ain in our throat. So we're moving from the bottom and we move slightly up. The other thing is with the hamza, there is no squeezing in the throat. When we say it's simply you just open your vocal cords, but there's no squeezing. Okay, it's a very there's not much effort required for the hamza. We say but for the ain, as we move up, there is a squeeze in the throat. So if you make sure you time this correctly, because you don't want to start squeezing too early. If you start squeezing too early, the ain and the hamza and the ain will sound the same. You'll say wa ah. See, that sounds the same. You want to say wa ah. So you're going for wa ah. And ain is also a letter like lam and like ra, in that you can stay on it for a little bit, not too long, not too short. Okay, you stay on it for a little amount of time. And so that's how we're pronouncing this, which actually the tawassut here does make it a bit easier, because you can sort of hold on to the ain, quickly settle yourself and get ready to say the ta, which is coming next. So let's try this, Auntie.
Okay.
Wa'atadna.
Wa'atadna.
MashaAllah. I heard a very clear hamza and I heard the letter ain after. Well done. MashaAllah. That was very good. Alhamdulillah. Okay. I'm just going to now go to Popoji Ruxana. Actually, what I'll do is I'll ask each of you, we're going to go to the beginning, and the person that read that portion will be reciting that portion after me. So Sister Homera, I think you did the first one. So here we are saying, so we're starting from the beginning again. وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَصَابِيحَ.
وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَصَابِيحَ.
You can have a little bit more itbaq for the sad. And also, you know, the scene here, I want to hold on to the scene a little bit longer. Okay, we'll try that again. وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَصَابِيحَ.
وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَصَابِيحَ. بِمَصَابِيحَ.
It's better. We can work. We'll have to work a little bit on the itbaq letters. It's heavy. It just needs a little bit more. What I want you to do is try to let's say sad on its own. Saw. That's better. بِمَصَابِيحَ.
بِمَصَابِيحَ.
Jazakumullahu khairan. And Popoji Ruxana, if we can recite the next one. وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينِ.
وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينِ.
Okay, keeping the meme nice, the fatha Popoji on the meme. Okay. Oh, and I did actually forget to mention here that when we are joining the meme here, we drop one of the fathatains so that we only recite one, and we go from ma to the li. There is no gunna sound here. We'll discuss this next time, inshallah. Not next time, but inshallah when we have an opportunity again. We go from ma to li. There's no sound through the nose at all. This is your idgham kamil bidun gunna. Okay, let's try this again, Papaji. وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينِ.
وجعلناها رجوما للشياطين
So
شياطين
if we do start from this word again, Auntie, because the li is joint, we start from li. لِلشَّيَاطِينِ.
للشياطين
Okay, and let's try the ma again. رُجُومًا.
رجوما
This ma sound I want. Of course, we're going to make it one count only when we carry on. رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينِ.
رجوما للشياطين
جزاكم الله خيرا. And Auntie Nasreen, وَأَعْتَدْنَا لَهُمْ عَذَابَ السَّعِيرِ.
وأعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير.
So if we start from this word, we say as-sa'ir. If you need to repeat, Auntie, as-sa'ir.
السعير.
That's better. Auntie, if we can just we'll do this one more time. I want to hear the fatha of the ba. Adaba. Remember the although the tha is long, it has the same a ending. So you want to keep the same. Ain ends with a a ending. Dal ends with a a ending. The ba, I also want to hear that same a in it. Okay. Adab as-sa'ir.
عذاب السعير.
Better. Inshallah, the ba, I have gone a little bit over. The ba here, Auntie, what I want you to do is, when your lips come together, when you separate them, the sound of your voice is going in. Okay, so you're saying adab, and that's making it sound a little bit heavy. What you want to do, let the sound push it out. When you separate the lips, let the sound come outwards rather than inwards. Adab as-sa'ir.
عذاب السعير.
It's better. It's an improvement. Jazakumullahu khairan. To all of you, we'll stop there inshallah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'anil hakim. Wa nafa'ani wa iyyakum bil ayati wa dhikri al hakim.